Ancient Paths, Discovering What Church is Meant to Be, written by James Guirguis. Chapter 11, The Angelic Life. One of the areas where the Orthodox Church differs quite a bit from Protestant denominations is in the life of monasticism. Monasticism is a form of religious life that is usually centered around communal prayer and work as part of a group of like-minded people and community. This way of life is undertaken by men and women all over the world who have such a zeal for God that they have no intention to live out their lives in a common or conventional way. These folks don't want to find a spouse, raise a child, or secure a grand old nest egg for retirement. Ordinarily, this might pose quite a problem to an individual because the temptations of the world could prove too strong. However, the monastic community of monks or nuns becomes a safe haven for those who truly love God and want to fully work out their salvation with fear and trembling. Philippians 2:12, while detaching themselves from the world. The community of brothers or sisters becomes the family and the support system of the man or woman who decides to dedicate his or her life completely to the communal life of prayer. Typically, the virtues of poverty, chastity, and obedience are taken as lifelong vows by the one who enters into such a community. While Christian monasticism did not officially begin until the 3rd century, we see that throughout the scriptures there are many examples of men and women who lived quite similarly to monks and nuns. This includes many of the prophets of the Old Testament, such as Elijah and Elisha. Other examples of this lifestyle in the Bible include the Apostle Paul, John the Baptist, and forerunner of Christ, and Anna the prophetess in the Gospel of Luke. The Bible gives us some insight into this form of Christian life. His disciples said to him, "If such is the case of the man with his wife, it is better not to marry." But he said to them, "All cannot accept this saying, but only those to whom it has been given. For there are eunuchs who were born thus from their mother's womb, and there are eunuchs who were made eunuchs by men, and there are eunuchs who have been made themselves eunuchs of the kingdom of heaven's sake. He who is able to accept it, let him accept it." Matthew 19:10-12. Jesus said to him, "If you want to be perfect, go, sell what you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come follow me." Matthew 19:21. But I say this as a concession, not as a commandment, for I wish that all men were given as myself. But each one has his own gift from God, one in this manner and another in that. But I say to the unmarried and to the widows, it is good for them if they remain even as I am. But if they cannot exercise self-control, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. 1 Corinthians 7:6-9. But I want you to be without care. He who is unmarried cares for the things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he who is married cares about the things of the world, how he may please his wife. There is a difference between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman cares about the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she who is married cares about the things of the world, how she may please her husband. And this I say for your own profit, not that I may put a leash on you, but what proper, and that you may serve the Lord without distraction. 1 Corinthians 7:32-35. Of course, we're reminded that the Lord Jesus lived in this manner during his earthly ministry. He led a group of faithful followers and lived in chastity and poverty, while also in obedience to God the Father. He typically spent his time either working or praying. Often, we are told of his time spent alone in prayer. The man regarded as the father of Christian monasticism is Anthony of Egypt, also known as Anthony the Great. His life was written down for us by Athanasius, Archbishop of Alexandria, the same man who helped decide the final compilation of books that were included in the New Testament. Since his time in the 3rd century, many thousands of faithful men and women have taken the leap of forsaking the world in order to live more fully for Christ. Here are a few quotes about the monastic life from the early centuries of Christianity. Virginity is better than marriage, however good celibacy is, an imitation of the angels. Therefore, virginity is as much more honorable than marriage, as the angel is higher than man. But why do I say angel? Christ himself is the glory of virginity. St. John Chrysostom, Homily 19 on 1 Corinthians. For by this time there are monasteries among you, and the name of monk receives public recognition. Athanasius, Prologue, Life of Anthony. John Cassian, monk and theologian, 360 to 435. St. Basil, Bishop of Cappadocia, is reported once to have said to a senator who had renounced the world in a half-hearted manner and was keeping back some of his personal fortune, "You have lost the senator and failed to make a monk. This uprooting of greed is difficult to achieve unless we are living in a monastery. For in a monastery we cease to worry about even our most basic needs." On avarice. The monastic life and its development are very important aspects in the history of the Christian Church. Throughout history, the monasteries have been seen as centers of spirituality that give great support and encouragement to those who visit. Monasteries also support the entire Church, and in fact, the world through the prayers of the holy ones who have dedicated their lives to this purpose. For the effective, fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much, James 5:16. Having a tradition of monasticism gives us tools and examples for our own spiritual disciplines and the struggles that accompany them. The monks and nuns teach us how to pray more deeply and converse more fully with the Lord Jesus Christ by learning to renounce the world. As John tells us, "Do not love the world or the things in the world." 1 John 2:15. They also show us that prayer is work. And as in the story of Mary and Martha of Bethany, Orthodox monastics have chosen their good part, which will not be taken away. Luke 10:42. While many talk about the loving God, these holy men and women show us what it means to do so more perfectly through a life of holy dedication, self-denial, physical labor, and ceaseless prayer.